The sun beat down relentlessly on dusty Salvation Gulch, a small, forgotten town clinging to the edge of the Arizona desert in 1878. A dry wind, thick with the scent of sagebrush and despair, whipped at the tattered awnings of the saloon and the general store. Folks here lived hard and died harder, their faces etched with the struggles of a land that gave nothing easily. Today, however, a different kind of tension hung in the air, heavier than the dust. A small crowd had gathered in front of the makeshift auction block, their eyes fixed on a figure huddled on a crude wooden platform. It was a woman, her head completely obscured by a coarse burlap sack tied tightly around her neck. Her hands, bound by a thin rope, trembled slightly. A grizzled, toothless man, the town's self-proclaimed auctioneer, spat tobacco juice onto the parched earth before raising his gavel. "All right, folks, let's get this show on the road. We got ourselves a fine specimen here, found wandering near the reservation border. No papers, no name. The law says she's public property now, to the highest bidder." A ripple of uneasy murmurs went through the crowd. Some faces showed pity, others cruel curiosity. No one knew her story or why she was condemned to such a fate. Suddenly, a shadow fell over the scene. A hush descended as a lone figure emerged from the shimmering heat, astride a powerful pinto pony. He was an Apache, tall and lean, with the stoic bearing of a warrior. His name was Chayton, meaning falcon. His eyes, dark and piercing, swept over the crowd, lingering on the shackled woman. He wore simple buckskin, a single feather braided into his long, dark hair. A rifle rested easily across his lap. The air crackled with unspoken tension. The settlers eyed him with a mixture of fear and grudging respect. Apache raids were a memory, but the underlying animosity remained. The auctioneer, flustered but trying to maintain his bravado, stammered, "Well now, if it ain't Apache. Care to try your luck, friend? We're starting the bidding at $10. Chayton dismounted, his movements fluid and deliberate. He didn't speak, but his gaze, fixed on the woman, was unwavering. He reached into a pouch at his side and pulled out a small leather bag, heavy with the clink of gold coins. The crowd gasped. He tossed it onto the dusty ground at the auctioneer's feet. $50, he said, his voice low and steady, cutting through the silence, for the woman. The amount was astronomical for Salvation Gulch. The auctioneer's eyes widened, and he quickly scooped up the bag, counting the coins with trembling hands. "Sold to the Apache," he declared, slamming his gavel down with an uncharacteristic urgency. Chayton walked to the platform, untied the woman's hands, and with a swift, decisive movement, ripped the sack from her head. Her eyes, wide and terrified, met his, revealing a fear so profound it spoke of a past shrouded in unimaginable pain. If you're enjoying this story and want to see how Chayton's courageous act changes everything for this woman and for him, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more gripping tales of the Old West to life. The dust of Salvation Gulch seemed to settle, but the heavy silence remained. The woman, now unveiled, stood frozen, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Her face, though smudged with dirt, revealed delicate features and eyes that were a striking shade of blue, now wide with a mixture of shock and sheer terror. Chayton's gaze was not one of judgment or curiosity, but of quiet observation, a calm strength that seemed to anchor the chaotic moment. He offered her no words, only a subtle gesture with his head towards his pinto, indicating she should mount. She hesitated, her body trembling. Freedom from the sack was one thing, but being bound to an unknown man, an Apache in a land where her kind often viewed his with suspicion, was another. Yet the memory of the auction block, of being a piece of property, spurred her forward. She moved with a stiff, uncertain gait, her eyes darting around at the hushed, staring faces of the townsfolk. A few whispered, "Who is she? And what's an Apache doing with a white woman?" But no one dared approach. The air around Chayton was one of quiet authority, a line no one dared cross. He helped her onto the horse, his touch light and respectful, avoiding her bound wrists which he had already freed. He then mounted behind her, taking the reins. The horse turned, and with a soft nudge they moved away from the gawking crowd, leaving Salvation Gulch behind in a cloud of dust that seemed to absorb the town's harsh judgment. As they rode, the sun began its slow descent, painting the vast desert sky in hues of orange and purple. The silence between them stretched, but it was not hostile. It was a silence born of uncertainty on her part and a patient, watchful awareness on his. She shifted uneasily, her exhaustion palpable. She hadn't eaten properly in days, maybe weeks, and the sun had taken its toll. Chayton, sensing her fatigue, pulled the horse to a stop beside a small cluster of gnarled mesquite trees near a barely perceptible wash. He dismounted first, then helped her down. Without a word, he produced a water skin and a piece of dried venison from his saddlebag. He simply held them out, his eyes meeting hers with an unspoken promise of no harm. The simple offer of sustenance was more profound than any grand speech. It was an acknowledgement of her humanity, a kindness she hadn't encountered in a long time. She took the water, her hands still trembling, and drank deeply, the coolness a balm to her parched throat. For the first time since he bought her, a tiny flicker of something akin to relief crossed her face. The desert night descended, bringing with it a surprising chill. Chayton had built a small, smokeless fire, casting flickering shadows against the sparse landscape. The woman, whose name she still hadn't offered, huddled by the warmth, watching him with wary curiosity. He sat opposite her, his rifle across his knees, a silent sentinel. He hadn't pressed her for answers, hadn't asked her name, or even why she was in Salvation Gulch. His patience was a stark contrast to the aggressive demands and judgment she had grown accustomed to. Eventually, she found her voice, raspy from disuse. "Why?" she whispered, her eyes fixed on the dancing flames. "Why did you buy me?" Chayton looked up, his expression unreadable in the firelight. "No human should be bought or sold," he stated simply, his voice a low rumble. "It is not the way of my people." He gestured vaguely to the vast, star-studded sky. "The land does not own us, nor do we own each other." His words, so profound in their simplicity, disarmed her more than any threat. She had expected a demand, a reason that benefited him. Instead, he offered a principle. "My name is Elara," she said, the name feeling foreign on her tongue after so long. "Thank you, Chayton." The acknowledgement of his name and the gratitude felt like a small bridge built between them. The journey continued at dawn. They rode mostly in silence, the rhythm of the horse and the vastness of the desert slowly eroding the layers of fear that had encased Elara. Chayton pointed out landmarks with a quiet word, a distant mesa, a particular cactus bloom, sharing the wisdom of his land without demanding a response. He taught her how to recognize tracks, how to find shade during the oppressive midday sun, and how to preserve water. He never hurried her, always ensuring she was comfortable, offering her his canteen before she even felt thirsty. One afternoon, a sudden, fierce dust storm erupted, reducing visibility to mere feet. The wind howled, sand stinging their skin. Elara instinctively recoiled, her panic rising, memories of past helplessness threatening to overwhelm her. Chayton, however, remained calm. He dismounted, pulling the horse behind a large rock formation, and motioned for Elara to huddle close to him, shielding her from the worst of the swirling sand with his own body. His presence was a solid, unwavering anchor in the chaos. She leaned into him, feeling a safety she hadn't known in years, a fragile seed of trust taking root in the heart of the wild, unforgiving desert. Days blurred into a journey across vast, untamed landscapes. Elara watched as the sparse desert gradually gave way to more rugged terrain, then to hidden canyons and winding arroyos. The air grew cooler, scented with juniper and pine. Finally, As the sun dipped low, painting the canyon walls in fiery reds and deep oranges, Chayton led her through a narrow, almost invisible pass. It opened into a small, verdant valley, a hidden oasis nestled within the mountains. Smoke curled lazily from a few scattered dwellings, wickiups made of poles and brush, blending seamlessly with the natural surroundings. This was his home, a small Apache community, a sanctuary far from the judgment of the outside world. As they rode into the clearing, a few faces emerged from the dwellings, young and old, their expressions curious, but not hostile. Chayton dismounted first, then helped Elara down. An older woman, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, but with kind, knowing eyes, approached them. She wore traditional Apache dress and carried herself with quiet dignity. Chayton spoke to her in their native tongue, a melodic stream of sounds that Elara couldn't understand, but whose tone was gentle and respectful. The elder woman, whose name Chayton later told her was Na-Bahi, meaning warrior woman in a spiritual sense, as Elara understood it, offered Elara a warm, almost imperceptible smile. Na-Bahi led Elara to a wickiup, larger and more comfortable than Elara had expected, already prepared with blankets and a small fire pit. She offered Elara fresh water in a clay pot and a bowl of stew, simple but nourishing. There was no questioning, no prying, just a quiet understanding. For the first time since her ordeal, Elara felt truly safe, truly cared for, not as property, but as a person. As days turned into a week, Elara began to heal. Na-Bahi tended to her small wounds and helped her wash away the grime of her ordeal. The women of the community, though initially reserved, slowly opened up, teaching her simple tasks like grinding corn, preparing herbs, and weaving. Elara, in turn, found a quiet strength she didn't know she possessed. She learned the rhythms of the Apache day, the importance of patience, and the profound connection they had to the land. She spoke little of her past, but the kindness and acceptance of Chayton and his people slowly began to chip away at the walls she had built around her heart. She often found Chayton observing her from a distance, a quiet, protective presence, his unwavering belief in her humanity a constant source of comfort. This story is just beginning to unfold its rich layers. If you're captivated by Elara's journey and Chayton's quiet strength, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next. Weeks turned into months in the hidden canyon. Elara, once a trembling, fearful woman, began to shed the layers of her past trauma like an old skin. The Apache community, with its unhurried pace and deep respect for nature, became her unexpected refuge. She learned to speak rudimentary phrases in their language, enough to communicate her needs and express gratitude. She helped gather berries and roots, learned to prepare meals over an open fire, and discovered a surprising aptitude for weaving intricate patterns into baskets. Her hands, once scarred by unknown hardships, now moved with purpose and growing skill. The work was demanding, but it was honest, and it filled a void that had long plagued her. The women of the community, especially Na-Bahi, became her silent mentors. They didn't push, didn't pry, but their calm acceptance and patient guidance helped Elara rediscover her own inner resilience. She saw their strength not in aggression, but in their deep connection to the earth, their self-sufficiency, and their unwavering loyalty to one another. Chayton remained a steadfast presence. He often rode out on patrols, ensuring the safety of their hidden valley, and returned with game or news from the distant trails. He would sometimes sit by the communal fire, observing Elara as she worked, a silent appreciation in his eyes. He never pressured her to reveal her past, but his quiet support was a constant reassurance. One afternoon, while Elara was struggling to start a fire with flint and steel, Chayton approached, his movements as silent as a desert cat. He didn't take over, but knelt beside her, patiently demonstrating the subtle technique, his large hands guiding hers without a word. When the small flame finally caught, a sense of accomplishment, new and exhilarating, surged through her. Later that week, a small group of young Apache hunters returned, disappointed and empty-handed. Chayton, instead of reprimanding them, calmly discussed their tracking methods, offering insights gleaned from years of living off the land. Elara watched, captivated, as he explained how the wind shifts, how animal tracks change with the terrain, his knowledge vast and instinctive. She saw his leadership, not in shouts or commands, but in his quiet wisdom and ability to teach. It solidified her growing respect for him, a respect that was slowly, imperceptibly transforming into something deeper. She was no longer just a woman he saved. She was becoming a part of his world, and for the first time in a long time, she felt truly alive, truly belonging. The tranquility of the Apache community, though profound, was not immune to the harsh realities of the outside world. One crisp autumn morning, a lone Apache scout, his face grim, rode into the camp. He spoke quickly with Chayton and the elders, his words urgent. Elara, still struggling with the nuances of their language, caught fragmented words. Strangers, searching, her. A cold dread coiled in her stomach. Her past, it seemed, had finally caught up. Chayton approached her, his expression serious but calm. There are men asking about a white woman, one seen near Salvation Gulch. They are asking questions, looking for information. He paused, his dark eyes searching hers. They do not sound like men of good intent. Elara felt the blood drain from her face. The memories, so carefully suppressed, flooded back. The cruelty, the desperation, the relentless pursuit. She had fled a man named Silas, a ruthless landowner who claimed she owed him an impossible debt, a debt she knew was fabricated to keep her enslaved on his remote ranch. He had been relentless, his enforcers brutal. The sack over her head at the auction had been a last, desperate attempt to escape his reach, hoping anonymity would offer protection. "Silas," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "he won't stop. He'll burn this place to the ground if he thinks I'm here." A ripple of unease spread through the small community as the news became clear. Their hidden sanctuary, their peaceful existence, was now threatened by an outsider's conflict. Some of the younger men, eager to defend their home, sharpened their hunting knives. The elders, however, remained stoic, looking to Chayton for guidance. He had brought this woman into their midst, and now her troubles were theirs. Chayton, however, did not waver. "This land is our home," he stated, his voice resonating with quiet authority. "We do not invite trouble, but we do not flee from it when it seeks us. We will protect what is ours, and those under our protection." He then looked directly at Elara, his gaze firm. "You are with us now, Elara. We will face this together." His words, a silent vow of protection, offered a sliver of hope in the rising storm of fear. Elara realized the full weight of her presence here, the danger she brought. But she also saw the unwavering support, a true family, ready to stand with her against the shadows of her past. Elara paced, consumed by guilt and fear. She saw the faces of the children, the elders, the warriors, all potentially endangered because of her. "I can't let this happen," she pleaded with Chayton. "I can leave." "Draw them off." He turned, his understanding deep. "To what end, Elara? To live in fear, always running, to trade one cage for another. That is not freedom." He stepped closer. "You are no longer alone. We chose to bring you here. Our ways are intertwined. When one of us faces a storm, we face it together. Do you truly believe you are a burden, Elara? Or do you believe in the strength you have found here?" His words cut through her fear. She had grown strong. She had learned resilience. She was no longer helpless. "But they are many," she whispered, her practical fear lingering. "Numbers do not always mean victory." Chayton replied firmly, "We know this land. We are prepared. What matters is courage and the belief in what we protect. We do not seek violence, but we will not allow our home to be violated, nor those within it to be harmed." He placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. "Your past brought you here, Elara, but your future, if you choose it, is with us. Stand with us." Looking into his steady eyes, Elara felt a wave of profound relief and determination. His faith in her, his unwavering commitment, ignited a fierce spark within her. She was no longer just running from something. She was now standing for something, for this quiet haven, for these kind people, and for the man who had given her a new life. "I will stand with you," she said, her voice clear and strong. The tension is building, and Elara's courage is shining through. If you're on the edge of your seat and want to witness the climax of this gripping tale, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapters. The Apache prepared. It was a quiet, methodical strengthening of their defenses. Scouts ranged further, and women and children moved to deeper parts of the canyon. Chayton identified choke points and natural barriers, seeking not a bloody battle, but a clear message. Days later, the tension broke. 3 rough riders, Silas's enforcers, appeared at the canyon's mouth. They expected an easy target, but found an unnerving silence. No fires, no people, only imposing canyon walls. One, a burly man, shouted, "We know she's here. Hand her over, or there'll be no trouble." Chayton emerged from the shadows, tall and unyielding. "This land is home," he stated, his voice calm yet commanding. "She is under our protection. You will not take her." The scarred man laughed. "Protection? From a handful of primitives? We'll burn this whole place down." Suddenly, sunlight glinted off rifle barrels from higher ledges. Apache warriors, appearing from behind rocks, silently surrounded the 3 men. Outnumbered and outmaneuvered, the riders exchanged nervous glances. They were used to easy targets, not a unified force. The leader, seeing the futility, spat on the ground. "This ain't over," he growled, turning his horse. "Silas ain't never given up." They rode off, their bravado shattered. Chayton watched them go, a quiet satisfaction settling over the camp. The immediate threat was repelled, not with bloodshed, but with strength, unity, and unwavering defense. The departure of Silas's men brought profound relief. The encounter solidified something deeper within Elara, the loyalty and courage of this community. The last vestiges of fear and the desperate need to hide dissipated. She was truly free, not just from Silas, but from the crushing weight of her past. She found Chayton by the river. "They won't come back, will they?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not in that way. They know now we are not easily broken. You are safe here, Elara." "I know," she replied, her eyes meeting his. "Because of you. Because of all of you." A profound gratitude filled her. She thought of her desolate past. Here she found acceptance, purpose, and a sense of belonging. I want to stay, Chayton," she confessed, if your people will have me." Chayton turned, a rare, gentle smile touching his lips. "You are already one of us, Elara. You have walked our paths, shared our fire, and stood with us. This land, this home, embraces those who respect it and those within it." He spoke of the Apache way, of community, of finding one's place. In that moment, Elara understood. Her journey wasn't about escaping, but finding something beautiful. In Chayton, she saw a partner, a man of integrity, courage, and quiet love. The deepest conflict within herself was over. She was ready to embrace her new life with open arms. Days after Silas's men retreated, a different gathering took place in the hidden Apache Valley. It was a quiet, deeply meaningful celebration. Elara had chosen to stay, not just as a guest, but as a full member, and Chayton had asked her to be his wife. The ceremony was simple, rooted in ancient Apache ways. Elara wore a soft deerskin dress, adorned with beadwork by Nabahi and the other women. Chayton stood beside her, his face serene, his eyes reflecting their deep connection. An elder spoke of family bonds, two spirits becoming one, and the sacredness of their connection to the earth. They exchanged no rings, but their hands were bound with a braided leather cord, symbolizing unity. They shared water from a spring, a pledge of life. As the sun set, painting the canyon in gold and rose, they stood as husband and wife, recognized by their community and the land itself. Life with Chayton was real, honest, and filled with profound peace. Elara learned to ride, to track, to understand the desert. She learned from Chayton's patience, wisdom, and integrity. They built their own wiki-up, adding their love to the thriving community. Elara, once lost and auctioned, found her voice, strength, and purpose. She was no longer defined by her past, but by her present and the hopeful future built with Chayton. The memory of the burlap sack faded, replaced by the vivid reality of her new life. She was a testament to resilience, human connection, and extraordinary bonds forged in the most unlikely circumstances. And that concludes, Apache man saved a woman with a sack on her head from auction. She married him days later. Ndui. We hope you were as moved by Elara and Chayton's journey as we were in telling it. If you enjoyed this full story, please show your support by subscribing to our channel and turning on notifications. Your engagement allows us to continue bringing you more authentic and emotionally resonant stories of the Old West. Thank you for watching.